Hi, I'm Christi and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to quickly chat about my season 3 Bridgerton thoughts so far. So season 3, part 1 of Bridgerton released last week, and I ended up finishing it over the weekend, and so I'm so excited to chat about my thoughts on the season so far. The Bridgerton series is, of course, on Netflix. They did an adaptation of Julia Quinn's historical romance books, which, of course, is the Bridgerton series. There are 8 books in the book series, and all of them follow different siblings within the Bridgerton family, and so, yeah, we're seeing the adaptation, and I'm so excited to chat about my thoughts so far. So first up, just a little bit of history of my thoughts with Bridgerton. So I read the book series originally back in 2020 before season 1 dropped. I'm a huge historical romance fan, and while this series isn't one of my all-time favorite historical romances, I do really love that it got an adaptation, that we've been seeing it on TV, that more people who maybe haven't picked up historical romances before or ever ventured into watching a show about it have watched the Bridgerton adaptation on Netflix. So I do love that for the genre in general. And then with the book series, I do have favorites within the series. My favorite is book 6, which is When He Was Wicked, which is Francesca's story, and then book 2, which is The Viscount Who Loved Me, which is Anthony's story. So now for the Netflix adaptation. So for season 1, that one I enjoyed. Like, I really liked seeing just that kind of beginning of seeing the series on TV and seeing all these characters and places kind of brought to life. They did, of course, start to change a couple things in season 1 as far as characters and some of the things like that, but otherwise book 1 to season 1 is a pretty good adaptation. Like, they stuck to the book pretty well for season 1. Now for season 2, I went in that one with high hopes because, like I said, Anthony's book is one of my favorite books. I love Anthony and Kate so much. So I had really high hopes, high expectations for that season, and around, I think, like episode 3 and episode 4 is where I realized they were taking a turn from the books and no longer following the books, kind of just doing their own, inspired by, so to speak. So when I first watched it, I loathed and hated the season. I hated what they did with some of the characters and the choices they made and just kind of the friendships that they ruined, I felt like, and just, you know, the sisterly bond, all of those things I felt like were wrecked, and I wanted more of like Anthony and Kate together. So that was my first watch of season 2. I did end up rewatching it. I watched it right before season 3 dropped, and so this time around I did enjoy it a little bit more just because I feel like I knew what was going to be happening, that they changed things. I knew what to expect. So I went into it kind of knowing that, and I enjoyed it more than I did the first time. It's definitely not my favorite though, and I feel like the book is just, top tier. So the fact that they messed with that, I don't know, I'll never get over it. So rewatching that actually got me really excited for season 3 because before that I wasn't that excited about it because of what they did with season 2. It left such a bad taste in my mouth originally. But then I really did enjoy what they did with Queen Charlotte, which is not part of the Bridgerton series, but it's like kind of exists in that world. It's its own little like limited run series, I believe, like a little standalone, I guess, so to speak, of Queen Charlotte and King George's history and their relationship, and is so good. That is still my favorite thing that the Bridgerton / Shondaland people have done is Queen Charlotte. If you haven't watched that, highly recommend. So emotional, and it's just so good. So going into season 3, I ranked Queen Charlotte like way up here, top tier. I love it so much, so emotional and romantic, and just so good, pulls on your heartstrings. Season 1 probably down here, and then season 2 like way off the page. Really didn't enjoy that one. But now, having already watched season 3 part 1, that's actually now my new favorite of the current seasons. Queen Charlotte is still top tier for me, but I'm not going to include that as part of like the Bridgerton series. But like, if you're asking me which ones I liked that they did, Queen Charlotte is top tier, then season 3, then season 1, then season 2. So I do have my notes just so I could kind of remember and keep myself on track of what I wanted to talk about for this season so far. So I did break it up by characters and then the couple, Colin and Penelope, last. So yeah, season 3 I really enjoyed. So far we have 4 episodes out, and I just like really loved them. Like I said, it's my favorite they've done so far. I love the actress for Penelope's character. Nicola is so much fun. I love her. If you haven't seen Dairy Girls, highly recommend because she is so funny and charming in that. So yeah, I was just a fan of her, a fan of what they've done for their characters. I felt like they brought them to life and gave them a little bit more, especially Penelope's character. So yeah, I really love the season overall. I love a friends to lovers setup. This season is based off of his book 4 in the series, which is Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. That's not really a favorite of mine. Like, I like it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It's kind of like middle of the road for me. I think it actually, in my ranking of the series, I think it's like right in the middle. So I liked it enough, but I really love what they did with the season so far. Felt like season 1 and 2 really brought, I don't know, maybe like a little bit of overacting in moments and a little bit more dramaticness to it, which, I don't know, I like angsty and drama, but like I didn't like how much they did of that, especially with season 2. So for season 3, I kind of liked that that was tamed down. We really get to focus on the couple because season 2 definitely did not let us focus on the actual couple, which was Kate and Anthony. I wish we had more moments of them. So I really liked that we got to see that in season 3 so far, and I just really love it. Like, it's so cute and so fun and so charming. Love Penelope so much. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so like I said, I broke it up by character. So first up is Anthony. So Anthony and Kate moments, I really loved that we got to see more of them in the season. Like, my issues with season 2 was that we didn't get enough of their like happy together time at the end of that season after all they put us through, all that trauma and drama. So I wish we had like a couple more episodes at the end of their season. I felt like I would have felt it was more well-rounded out for their show. So I'm really glad that we got to see them in this season. In the first episode, it was so much fun. I love all their like steamy moments and in the bedroom, on the dance floor, in his study. So good. I also really liked seeing Kate's relationship with Lady Violet, of course, Anthony's mother, her new mother-in-law. That was so sweet. I loved all of their kind of like palling around moments together. I feel like those two actresses really bounce well off of each other, and I just loved seeing this like happy family and seeing Violet so happy that Anthony's happy, that Kate's happy, like all of them together. That's like the strongest thing about this series is the family. So then in episode 1, we see that Anthony and Kate decide to take some more time off, go enjoy more of their honeymoon, more of their time together, which I kind of really liked because I felt like we got a little bit of them, get to see them happy, get to see some more steamy times with them, but also like they're not the main focus of this season. And so kind of letting them kind of like drift off in the background. They're not totally gone, but they're just like, you know what, we're gonna go enjoy our honeymoon longer. I feel like that was a really good move for them. Unlike the Simon and Daphne thing, which they kind of like just disappeared and are never talked about, I kind of like that Anthony and Kate, we get that moment of them saying like, you know what, we're gonna like extend our honeymoon, and I think we're gonna see them again in part 2 of the season. All right, next up is Benedict. I'm just gonna go in order of the siblings. So for Benedict, if we followed his books, this would have been his season, but of course we know that we're not following the books because we're not having Benedict's season for season 3. So that is already like a change. They've already changed a lot to his character. His book, I'm not really a fan of, but I really love show version of what they've done with his character. I feel like they've given him a little bit more. I love his whole like art scene, and now he's like with this widow, which I feel like is super interesting. I'm wondering if that's going to lead into him possibly meeting his lead that he's supposed to have for his book, which is Sophie. So I'm wondering if she's going to maybe work at this widow's house, be related to her somehow. Maybe that's going to come about, or maybe the widow's just here to kind of move Benedict along in his story, because I feel like they haven't done a lot with him. Like, I don't know if they know what to do with Benedict fully. So I don't know. I don't think he's ready to lead his own season yet, as far as what we've seen in part 1. So we'll see. All right, so gonna skip Colin because like I said, I'm talking about him at the end with Penelope. So next up in the sibling order is Daphne. And so we haven't seen her at all in this season, and I don't think we're going to. I believe this actress said she's done with the series. Like, she felt like her character growth and arc is over and it's not really her time anymore, and so she stepped away. Maybe she'd come back in future seasons, maybe in the background or like a wedding scene or something, but I know for this season she's not supposed to be in it at all. So who knows for future seasons, but I know for this one she's not in it, and I'm okay with that. Like, Daphne's not a favorite of mine, so she's kind of just off with Simon doing their thing in the background in my mind. Like, I don't even think the characters talked about them at all, but I know they have like a full house of children and they're just like doing their own thing, which is fine with me. All right, so then Eloise. So Eloise in the books, this is the book that she actually is kind of butting up to her romance, because if we follow the book series, her book is next, book 5. So in this one though, we haven't seen any setup of her writing or talking to her love interest, which of course, if you've read the books, if you know her books, then you know it's supposed to be Sir Philip. So we haven't seen any mentions of Eloise writing to him like she would have in this book. So I don't know what we're doing there, if we're gonna jump to her season next. I feel like with what we've got in part 1, I wouldn't think that her season would be next, because we haven't seen any really like build up for that as far as the version that we have in the books. As far as what she's up to in this season so far, we're seeing her friendship, relationship, kind of companionship, I guess, with Cressida, which I feel like is super interesting because Cressida is such a mean girl in the books. I personally am a fan of what they've done with Cressida so far. I feel like in the books, she definitely reads as a very one-note mean girl. That's all there is to her. So I kind of like that we're seeing this variety to her character. We're seeing some of the ways that she is. Like, I know the costumers for the show talked about how with her costumes, they were doing very much this like trapped in a birdcage type of thing with like her massive shoulder kind of dresses and things. Like, you're kind of seeing how she has become the way that she is because of the way that her parents are and how they keep her in this cage and just want her to like get married to help them. They're kind of punishing her for being friends with certain people or wanting to like push this marriage upon her, and kind of putting these strains on like her money or what she can do for the season or clothes she can wear, like if she doesn't go off and get married. So I personally am a fan of what they've done with her. I personally love characters who have flaws and can grow within a TV series, a movie series, a book series, any of those things. None of us are perfect, and so I love seeing characters with flaws who can grow and are not just one note mean, one note nice. Like, they have a kind of a variety to them. So I'm really enjoying what they're doing with her character so far. I feel like she has had some growth already just in part 1. If she continues that and continues to kind of make changes in part 2, we shall see. see, but so far I'm a fan of what they're doing with her. So yeah, I felt like that's the only thing. So let me check my notes. Yeah, so for Eloise, I feel like she's only kind of conflicted, mad, upset, still hurt over her falling out with Penelope from the previous season and kind of their friendship. So that's all she's really had going on with her, I feel like, in this season so far, is her whole like conflicted feelings about her falling out with Penelope, as well as her kind of newer friendship, so to speak, with other ladies of the Ton, as well as Cressida. But one of my main issues with season 2 was seeing kind of the friendship between Eloise and Penelope disintegrate and explode with their fight. I do feel like at the same time that it will bring a lot of growth to their characters. I mean, friends in real life fight, get into arguments, but it's kind of that growth you see after it that can really strengthen a friendship. So I'm hoping that's what's going to happen with them, but we'll see in part 2. All right, and then next up is Francesca. I absolutely love her. Like I said at the beginning, Francesca's book is my favorite book. I love how she is so different than the rest of the Bridgerton family, which is something that she actually says in her book, as well as they already had her say it in the part 1 of this season and of the show, where she's like, you know what, I love all of my siblings so much, but I can also feel like isolated and alone and like different from the rest of them. That doesn't mean I love them any less or like don't want to be around them, but like she's different, and we're definitely seeing that with her character, which I love. I love her kind of meeting and relationship with John Sterling. If you know where her book's going, I'm curious how that's going to play in, because so far, the heart-wrenchingness that we could get from this, it's gonna be a journey. But I love her. I love how she's very level-headed. She's very different than the rest of the Bridgerton family. She's the book that, like I said, I love the most. I always felt super connected to her character. I just love her character so much, and seeing her on screen and having her moment. I love how she's very level-headed and just kind of, you know, she knows what's expected of her, but she's not gonna be like overly doing it, kind of like Daphne did in her season. And she's also not like Eloise. She's not like her other sisters. She's very different, and I just love that kind of like independent, quiet strength that she has, like the moments when she meets John and he goes and runs off and goes off and does the like whole composing thing and brings it back to her, and she rushes home and wants to play on the piano immediately. Love that so much. They're so sweet and cute together, so I'm excited to see where that's gonna go. I'm ready for the heartbreak, the heartache. If we follow the books, that is, who knows, they could change things up, you never know. But even if they stick to the books, I'm good with that too. But so far it's just super cute, super fun. Kind of seeing her in her element, her kind of like quiet moments with John is just so fun. I love how they're kind of, I don't know the other word, but like socially awkward around the rest of the Ton, the balls and things, how they just kind of want their quiet moments and sneak off together. They're very much the introverts, and I feel like all of us who are introverts totally get that. All right, and then for Gregory and Hyacinth, I kind of just put them together. They're the youngest siblings, and we're kind of seeing them still kind of be children, but wanting to grow up as well. So Gregory, we see him like wanting to be like his older brothers, but of course he's so much younger than them, so he has time to still grow up. And then Hyacinth, I feel like they're kind of making her into like a mini Eloise, which if you've read the books, then you know Hyacinth is already kind of like that. I feel like show version of Eloise is kind of more like Hyacinth is in the books, very kind of like spunky, does her own thing, speaks her mind, outspoken, just like does whatever and has fun. So I like that we're seeing kind of that version of Hyacinth as well, but again, she still needs to like grow up and all of that. So then for Violet, of course, the mom of the Bridgerton family, I love her so much. I feel like she always has the best speeches for her children and her family at the right time. And here we got to see some moments, like I said, with her and Kate, which were so cute. I loved her kind of talks with Francesca about love and what she wants to find and all of that, as well as she had some moments with Colin as well, and kind of talking to him about setting up this friendship, you know, relationship first in a romance, and just like her memories with their father Edmund. Just so sweet and so fun. She always has the best things to say to her children. We also get like a possible romance brewing with maybe Lady Danbury's brother who shows up, which I feel like that's going to be interesting. I'm also not too sure about him so far, because Lady Danbury obviously has some feelings towards her brother, whether that's just like sibling times or they actually had a falling out, or she just thinks he's a playboy. I'm not too sure where they're going with that yet, but I'm just hoping if he does have like a relationship with Lady Violet, that it is genuine, that he's not going to like dupe her or hurt her or anything, because she's precious and we must protect her. All right, and then with Will's character and the whole like Montridge family, of their son inheriting a baron title and them getting access to the Kent estates and kind of all of these things, I kind of like what they're doing with their characters, because I felt like in season 2 they weren't too sure what they were going to do with him. Like he was a boxer in season 1, and then in season 2 he started opening up a club and trying to do that, and so I kind of like this version of seeing him in season 3, seeing their family get, like I said, this new estate, this new title, this money, these clothes, this house. They're a part of the Ton, a part of society now. I'm pretty sure they said that family is based off of like a real life family in history, so I kind of liked that. And I also like kind of that historical aspect is bringing to the series of that did happen with titles and families just like inheriting, or a son becoming like the, you know, 10th in the line to inherit a dukedom or earldom or whatever the case. And so I kind of liked that, seeing their life change kind of overnight, of having a title, having money, being a part of society, having this estate, and like not knowing what to do with it. So I'm kind of liking that angle of their story. And then Queen Charlotte, she's been in the background, I think, of like almost every episode, where she's still trying to figure figured out how to stay ahead, one up with Lady Whistledown. So that kind of whole thing, as well as trying to figure out if she's going to call or name a diamond of the season, that whole conversation that's kind of happening in the background. So yeah, that's what she's up to. The Featherington family, which I grew to love them in season 2. I really loved Portia and how much she stood up for her daughters through that season. And so I feel like she's just like a very strong female character in the show. And so I really enjoy her character. This season, they got like a new upgrade to their house, which is very green, all their florals, all their dresses. I feel like they're finally dressing not too like clashy. They're finally kind of coming into their own. They have some money, all of that. And so it's looking so good to see on like the screen. They look so good together with their house. Everything is just working for them. Her kind of main plot so far of the season is just trying to get her daughters pregnant or help them along, which because she kind of set it up in season 2 where basically the new heir to their family is going to be one of her daughter's firstborn sons. So she's kind of pushing for both of her daughters, Penelope's sisters, who have recently been married, to kind of, you know, have a baby sooner than later. And so kind of brought some humor to it, like their conversations and her trying to teach her girls how to get pregnant and all of that. I feel like that just brought some humor to the show, which I felt like was needed. It kind of just brought some levity to it all. So then with Colin and Penelope, we left them at the end of their carriage scene, which I feel like a lot of us, if you've read the books, then that's where we guessed that the season was going to do this mid-stop or their cliffhanger thing. And so like we all saw that ending coming. So Colin and Penelope, we are left off where he doesn't know that she's Lady Whistledown. And so it's going to be interesting because he already has some heated feelings towards Lady Whistledown that he spoke about in this season and previous seasons. He's still super upset about what she did to Marina in season 1. So that's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out once he figures out that Penelope is Lady Whistledown. I feel like that's going to be definitely the main issue with part 2. If you watch the little trailer at the end of episode 4, lots of drama coming for part 2. So yeah, it's going to be interesting once he finds out that she's Lady Whistledown and how he reacts to that. I'm not really a fan of the actor personally for Colin. He's not what is selling me on this season. I very much love him with Penelope because of how strong of an actress and a character she is that I really love. Colin though, on his own, not really a fan of him. He's kind of cringy and just his character moments, like I said, I'm just not a fan of his actor and the way he kind of looks and the things that he says and like his winking and his getting with these other ladies. It just felt very forced and not very believable to me. So that part I just ignore because like I said, I love Penelope so much. Penelope though, we're still seeing her pretty vicious as Lady Whistledown. She had a couple moments where she rushed home and immediately took to her pen and quill and wrote down some things. And then the next day, once it was published, she kind of regretted things that she had already gotten in motion and written. So I loved seeing that because I feel like they have made her character more kind of vicious and vengeful in the series as Lady Whistledown. So it was kind of fun to see that play out and fun to see her kind of deal with like the ramifications of Lady Whistledown coming out the next morning and being like, oh my god, I can't believe I wrote that crap. So that was fun to see. Again, just Colin, didn't really believe him as like a hot lead or the hero of the show, but that, you know, that's my issue with the actor and all of that. Penelope in this one, she wants to find a husband to get out of her house, and so Colin is the one who sets up and tries to help her. So that was fun to see. I wish we got a little bit more of that extended, but like what we got was kind of fun too. We did get the scene from the book where she asks him for a kiss, so I did like that as well, which I felt like it was way more amped up in the drama of it all, that scene when it played out at night when they're at her house or outside of her house. I loved seeing that on screen. The next morning of him dreaming of her after their kiss, I definitely called that and was like, yep, that's him dreaming, because she, you know, she already has those feelings towards him. So it's going to be his wake-up call of like, oh my god, wait, what? That happened? I have feelings about that. So definitely saw that happening, of his kind of dream and waking up and realizing that he maybe has some feelings for Penelope there. I love seeing her flirting. The trailer scene that we got to see in the show as well was so much fun, of her trying to chat with these guys at the balls, at the ton, just all of that. Like I said, the actress for Penelope is so much fun. She has such humor to her. If you haven't watched the show Dairy Girls, also on Netflix from a couple years ago now, it is so fun. That's actually what I saw her in first before Bridgerton got picked up, and I just love her. She's so humorous, so definitely recommend that. And then yeah, that carriage scene at the end and him proposing. Where's it going to go? Are they going to stick to what happens in the books? We'll see. I'm very excited. Like I said, I can't wait to see what happens in part 2. I just really loved what they did with part 1. It's definitely my favorite of the 3 seasons they've done so far. So yeah, those are all my thoughts on Colin, Penelope, the entire Bridgerton series so far of season 3 part 1. Definitely let me know in the comments if you have different thoughts. I feel like I've seen a lot of varying thoughts of people who love it and people who have like mixed feelings about it. And I feel like it's kind of hard to judge it because we haven't had the full show yet, since they broke it up in 2 parts. So I feel like once both parts are out, you kind of could judge it a little bit better. So we'll see. But so far I love it, and it's just so much fun, and I just love being swept up with these characters. I also just love the like resurgence of historical romance love that I've been seeing on like my Instagram, on my TikTok. Tons of historical romance recs, which I'm always here for because historical romances are my favorite books of all time. So I just love seeing all the like love for historical romances. Oh, and I forgot to talk about the Lord Devlin character. I think that's how you say his name, but I really enjoyed him. I like the kind of difference that he brings to the show of just kind of his like anti-hunting, being like a vegetarian and wanting to just kind of be, you know, with plants and the world and exploring. I like his character and the difference that he brings to the Ton and all of the like ball scenes. I wonder if he's going to be paired up with Cressida now going into part 2. We'll see how that plays out, because I feel like, you know, she wasn't really true to herself either, but it'd be in best interest for her character to kind of get away from her family. So we'll see if that happens. Oh, I also forgot to mention the diversity that we've seen in the characters of this season so far. I've really enjoyed. We got to see some characters who were using sign language to communicate in the first episode, which I really enjoyed. I think it was the first episode. Either way, it's in part 1 for sure. We also got to see a character of the Ton being a wheelchair user, which I really enjoyed and liked seeing. So yeah, I'm kind of liking that diversity of characters that we continue to see in this series. Really enjoy that as well. So yeah, like I said, definitely let me know all of your thoughts so far on Colin and Penelope, on Bridgerton season 3 part 1, of the show in general, of the book, whatever you want to talk about Bridgerton related, definitely put it down in the comments. I'm just obsessed and excited that we can finally talk about it, because it's been so long coming for this. If you want to hear even more thoughts on season 3 part 1, I am part of a watch along where we'll be having a live show where you can come join us on, I think, Saturday, the Saturday coming up, May 25th. I'll put the like graphic here for you to see all the info and the time where you can come and chat with all of us hosts and talk about all of your thoughts on season 3 part 1. I cannot wait to dive even more into it. I'm probably going to rewatch the show and then be ready for that live show and all the chatting. So if you'd rather leave me an emoji in the comments instead today, let me know that you watched this video. Leave me the balloon emoji, since we got to see some hot air balloon action in this for a little bit in part 1. So yeah, definitely do that. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you in my next one.